I do like the aspect, the idea of making supply chains more elastic. I traditionally, as you automate these supply chains and make them just in time, you make them more brittle, harder to adjust to these changes. Just look at what's happening in the food supply chain, where because restaurants aren't buying food anymore, things are kind of falling apart for the farmers, and yet we're still having trouble buying things. So, to the degree that this makes the supply chain around PPEs more elastic, more able to respond when new people suddenly have a lot of free time in their hands and are able to help with the efforts, that's great. I think the thing to be careful about, and this was a concern I had with the last one as well, is kind of crowdfunding processes sometimes work really well. Sometimes they can be gamed really well too. You see that on some of the big crowdfunding websites, where the more visually appealing projects, the ones that tug at the heartstrings a bit, might get the money rather than the ones that actually can have bigger impact. And it's hard to know ahead of time, especially somebody kind of voting on these things. And so it has to be kind of carefully designed to avoid falling into simply the more popular trap versus what's going to actually have the biggest impact. When people are there to figure out where to allocate their donation money, or if it's a part of a supply chain, the purchase money. It really did reflect a really deep understanding of the situation on the ground, which so often as technologists, you can envision what you think the problems are from reading headlines or from, a few interviews, but it was really clear that this was somebody who understood the relationship between hematologists and blood banks and hospitals, and the role that verifiable credentials can play in building this, right? It's not just about putting it all on the blockchain and making it all transparent. With verifiable credentials, you actually have the sophisticated balance between privacy rights, because the rights of these patients are the privacy rights of these patients, both the giver and the donor and the receiver, are super critical to protect. So verifiable credentials allow for that sophistication while still supporting an app like this. So I was really happy to see that, and just happy to see the polish on this presentation too. And I agree with Dr. Pigas. I think this is something that can be rolled out very quickly, if it finds the right partners and finds the right willing set of early adopters, basically.